Let's go ahead and look on the shapes now for our brush. And we're using a ribbon by default, so we have access to the fill, line, and dotted line. We'll also probably modify and create some other effect, but overall, we'll just going work with them as well. We'll look on a sequence and dots. So one thing I want to, before we start modifying, we'll switch to the line. Okay, we'll have it sequence, just leave it as default right here. And we'll maybe move just a little bit. And we're using default brush. The one thing I want to create first, it is instead normal layer, I want to go and create a vector layer. The reason is a vector layer allowed us to modification. Let me show you example. So right here, we're going and we draw some image. And you notice we cannot modify. So as we draw, we have this already done for us. However, if we're going and we create a new vector layer, and you can see right here by the eye, we have this squiggling. So let's say right now, I'm going to create something new. Okay. And at this point, if I want edit, I can click on edit tool. And if you notice, we have a new edit vector layer, which is given us just edit path, modify path. But beside taking and modifying the path adjustments, and we can at the same time going and modify some of these properties. For example, you can take size smaller, maybe less particles, and you can see how it will work a real life to update on all your path. And this is sometimes a little bit more visual, better to understand how this tool work. And that's the reason why we'll go into the vector. So we draw on the vector layer and we're going to modify. So how I said before, we're going to look in a shape, and currently our blending mode, it says to normal. And we have it also lighten and darker. The rule, usually you want lighten on a dark background and darken on a light background. So you can play with them, see which one work. For this currently preset normal will work the best. And we'll keep it this way. Also, same way you can increase, decrease opacity as you're going. So you can see that we'll just maybe have it about 90, so we can see a little bit through that. And you can see also our pressure sensitive is 100% increase. So if we switch to the fill, and as we switch to different type, you can see how it instantly change our preview right now. So this is a fill options. In the fill, we have a few things. We have it stroke opacity. Again, this is, remember, it is fill for the strokes. We can use all this image, but here's a little bit tricky part about using image. You need to be kind of sure what image you're using. Currently, you can see it's a gradient. And in some cases, if we're going and we preload some differently image, or actually let's select from library. Sometimes it won't be the effect as you want because we have too many strokes. So for this one, we actually need to reduce amount of particles maybe, and we want to reduce some other elements to make those particles visible, set them apart. But overall, sometimes effect, because we're using on a strokes and we're feeling with that, it's not necessarily will work. Better what I found, it's work if you have it some shapes ones that work a little bit better, that represent kind of like almost line like brushes. So in this case, as you're going, you can see it's producing those lines of the brushing. Okay. Also, of course, we can change our repetition, so we can repeat either way. So okay, and let's maybe give it a little bit more effect. Also, right here on the strokes, let's go to select instead. Again, we'll select a little bit more dot separation, and you can see right here we have the effect. Okay, let's go to one, go back so we can see a little bit more on this. And you can preview on the edges how it's become if we disable our anti-aliasing a little bit less. Okay, and just for small ones. If you have a complex work and you don't care too much as you're working on the edges, not on the final result, as in process of working, you can always disable anti-aliasing. It will make it a little bit faster to process. So sometimes if you have complex lines you're going on, or I'll do recommend for you to turn it off. And when you will render export final result, you can always go back, turn it on, and you'll have this. So same with amount of details. If we increase higher details, you'll see how it will already take quite a bit longer time just to render this, to preview. And your details, it's always will take more details, take longer to actually render, because it does create a much better result. However, just remember, so overall what I like to do is decrease, enable, disable anti-aliasing, start creating general shapes, drawing, and when it's final, you can enable let it render, and after you can use it. But again, to do this, when you want to modify, be sure you're creating the vector layer, so you can go inside and modify properties of the brush and path of the brush after when you finish drawing. One more things to mention: when we work with the shapes and we're using fill, we also can modify how we fill it beside using image and stroke opacity with a palette. So we'll have a single color. You can modify, you can see right here, we can go, as we select the gradient, we can go with the gradient, and as well we can select the image and we can go and fill with the image. Of course, this image, you remember, similar like before, you can go ahead and select already predefined patterns. You can preload it yours if you need it. So right here is a bunch of fishes, but remember, because how it's work, it's not necessarily you will see this image like the example, the pattern of the fishes. You can see how they're stretching and going, so you not necessarily will see that images. Keep this in mind. As well with images, what I find out, if you have a PNG with some transparency, you can see if it does not done kind of outline, you have this dark line on the edges, and it just, you need to be sure when you create it for the purpose of the used in a brush in the filling, you pay attention to those edges in the images. But overall right here you can create a very beautiful, very nice effects with this. And again, beside using with the fill, you can also use the color gradient in image in your palette panel.